It's gonna be a fun fun end of the season, getting the top four into the playoffs.
I agree completely. I think that this is it's a good typical KLK season. You have your 6, 7 teams that are still kind of sort of in it. You have Brandon, John kind of sold off, so I don't think he's really competitive anymore. And then you have Rob, who also, sold what he could. I don't think
Yeah.
he had much to sell, but I think Burner could still be in it. And then obviously you have the three that have been at the top, me, you, and Childs, and then Paul and Greg as well, fighting for that 4 spot. So very interesting season. Excited to kick it off here, and what better to talk about than the trade deadline? So we had a lot of movement, very typical of KLK. But let's start with a couple of the bigger trades, and maybe we could start with your deal. Um, Jalen Hurts coming to you, Tank Dell going over to John. Would love to get your thoughts on that deal. What made you want to do that? And
Yeah, well,
how do you feel about it?
yeah, I mean, quarterback was the most, I would say, glaring need out of where my roster stands. Obviously, not having Justin Jefferson has hurt a little bit, but he's on the brink of coming back, whether it's this week or next week. So that alone is going to be a huge addition. And then at quarterback, I mean, I put the eggs in Watson's basket. He obviously hasn't panned out, and who knows? He's probably, at this rate, I don't think he's going to be ever again what he was on the Texans, and he just couldn't get it together this year in Cleveland, and the injuries haven't hurt. I mean, Purdy has been really, really good, and he's definitely been a little bit of a savior on my team this year, without getting him early enough that be able to have him through some good weeks and all, but definitely needed the quarterback upgrade, and with other players out there and teams that were that are kind of out of it, the quarterback pickings were a little slim, and Hurts is kind of the clear either 1A or 1B as far as fantasy quarterbacks go. And he's got a couple of tough games coming up, but the guy, with the way that he runs and all the rushing touchdowns he gets, he's kind of matchup proof in a sense. I mean, looking at what he's done this year, I mean, his games where he's struggled, aside from week one, he's still broken 19 points in all those games. Going up again, in Tampa, and even against the tough Jets defense, he still almost got there with 20 points. So having a guy like that, you know what you're going to get every week, and then the upside is incredible too. And I had to give up a high pick for it, but when you got to be in it to win it. So I'm very confident in the guys I'm going to be able to keep in the offseason. So losing that 4th-round pick doesn't hurt me all that much, I believe, in the grand scheme. And plus, too, then adding Tank Dell to it, he's really been coming on with his friendship with C.J. Stroud and all that. But Dell, another guy that I really wouldn't have the room to keep him anyway. Obviously, with Jefferson and probably Nakua as a 18th or 16th rounder, where he is there, Dell would probably just get thrown back in. So it was worthwhile to use him as some trade bait to get a good upgrade on my squad.
Yeah, agreed. I was a little disappointed. Obviously, I could use a quarterback upgrade as well, and Hurts was certainly I'm going to go ahead and say he was the only body available on the market, right? I think Justin Herbert potentially could have been had, but that involves getting in touch with Brandon, which
has been
difficult to say the least. Maybe you could have pulled Lamar away from Burner. I still don't know that even really is the guy, compared to a Hurts. So I think you went out and you got your guy. What were your thoughts on DC's trades, getting Jahmyr Gibbs and the Eagles defense? I thought it was an interesting move to buy a player he didn't need for a 4th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Gibbs move is probably just I don't know, get him away from everybody else. Because other than that, I'm just pulling up his team.
Here we could even spot present the team.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess in a way, maybe a little. I mean, it's expensive insurance, like with Montgomery, and especially having Amon-Ra there as well. But I mean, his right, his running back depth really isn't there, to be honest. He's got Montgomery and ETN, and that's kind of it. I mean, Gus Edwards, he's thrown up, put a couple touchdowns in there, but if he's not scoring, he's not doing that much. And Henderson is just around until what's his face comes back.
Kyren.
Yeah, Kyren Williams. There you go. So he definitely needed the depth, and it's Gibbs is showing his potential there. It's definitely an expensive price to pay. Where he got Gibbs, and he probably could have gotten Swift cheaper, like I ended up doing for some of that depth and all. Yeah, I mean, it was an expensive price, but he needed the running back help, so I can't really fault him for it either.
I agree. I mean, I can fault him for it. I will fault him for it. I think you have Montgomery, you have Pacheco, you have Edwards, you have a bunch of guys that are that second running back to Etienne, and you have depth. You have 4 options. It's not an area where something happens, and God forbid something does happen to Pacheco, you have Tank Bigsby sitting on your bench too.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really stupid move. And then finally, the only other guy making a big move at the deadline was me, grabbing Eckler from John and then Andrews from Paul for a 3rd and 4th rounder, respectfully. I normally don't invest draft picks like this, but I think that it puts my team in a really good spot. Now, quarterback can still be a little iffy. I think Justin Fields is the guy. And if he's not, Jared Goff is a good high floor player where, he's still a borderline QB1 and can get the job done. But I think Fields is that ceiling that I really want there where, he can go off for 35, 40 points in a week. I think he went for 33 against Washington the game before he fucked up his thumb. Mm-hmm. And he gets Detroit twice, which has been good. He gets Cleveland, which is not great in the playoffs. But his finals matchups are Arizona and Atlanta. And that, to me, is a phenomenal way to have your quarterback be playing in the championship. So as long as I get there, I should be fine. And these moves help me get there now because you have the running back quadrant of Jacobs, Henry, Robinson, Brian, not Bijan, and Eckler. And then receivers, I got Adams, I got DJ Moore, I got Tyreek Hill, and now Andrews filling in at tight end. It's going to be good. I'm liking where the team's at. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No.
Love it. All right, so let's go on to the power rankings. So here, really clear, DC, I think, is still the number 1 team to beat. He has done nothing except win since, we last kind of saw the KLK rosters, which were back in week 7. He is on, I believe it's only a 3-game win streak because I think he dropped a median, but 16-4, fucking animal. I kept myself in the 2 spot given the moves that were made. I think my roster is probably the second most complete behind DC's, just ahead of you, but it's certainly a coin toss at this point. Mm-hmm. 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3 are pretty close. Then there's a big gap, I think, but Greg still has the best roster out of the remainers, simply because I think his roster is better than Paul's, and I think it's better than Burner's.
Well, definitely better than Paul's now after his recent moves.
I would agree. And I just think Paul's really thin at running back, and his receivers are great. Lamb and Thielen has been phenomenal. But and he has Addison too, who's been really, really good. So he's got some great players there, but just not for the rest of the year. Like Addison's going to lose share to Jefferson. So he's 5th, but I think it's 1, 2, and 3, and then everyone else. Burner and Schenker, both like coulda, shoulda, woulda sold, but didn't. But Burner's been playing well, so I'm going to give him the nod there. And then obviously the bottom three guys are just already thrown in the towel for the year.
Yeah.
Any comments on this? Any thoughts? Any disagreements?
We're gonna have a fun end of the year. No, definitely no disagreements. Burner and Schenker probably should have sold a little more, but hey, everybody goes about it differently.
There's still time. I mean, Schenker has basically come out and said, I'm not selling anything, but I think Burner has a couple pieces he can move, right? Like he can move Lamar. I think there'd be some people listening. I think he can move Jalen Waddle. I think he can move Christian Kirk. I think he can move Kamara. So I think there's a lot of ability to move. I think he can move Bijan too. I think there'd be people willing to listen. So very exciting stuff here.
Bijan's definitely movable just for the potential, even though he's been used like crap, much like they do with Kyle Pitts. But the potential is there just because of the player he is.
Hey, Art Smith hates you if you were drafted in the first round. Although it's funny because I think about it and it's like next year, if Justin Fields isn't the quarterback of the Bears, where would be his best situation? And it's like clearly Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
It is so clearly Atlanta where he would have phenomenal weapons. He'd have a good O-line. He'd have a good defense. Like, get that guy in there. And I just think to myself, if they don't use a quarterback drafted in the first round, what are they going to do? Are they going to let Heineke in on third downs to throw? Like, what are we talking about here?
I don't know.
But I digress. Let's pop into the matchup previews. So we'll start with our matchup of the week, which actually has one of these folks, involved. We have Gouda. We have Paul. Gouda's in third. Paul's in fourth. It's what are you? You're 16-4. No. Sorry.
No,
you're 13-7.
13-7, yeah.
13-7. Paul's 12-8. Whoever wins this is definitely in the third place matchup, or the 2-3, I should say. Let's start with quarterback. You got Dak against Carolina. Great matchup, coming off a phenomenal week. He just put up. He put up a massive week, and that's huge. Gets him to QB6 just off that. Four tutties, 400 yards, another tutty on the ground. Just what a fucking animal.
Yeah, he's red hot right now, and Dallas's running game is not doing much, so it's been on Dak's shoulders, and so far he's answered it.
Yeah, so you have Dak, and he goes up against your new acquisition in Jalen Hurts, who gets that primetime KC matchup. Who do you like here?
I think I still got to give the nod to Hurts just because Hurts is the better player, and I think too that you got potential for that KC game to be a little more on the higher scoring end, where I think the Carolina game, with how Carolina's offense is playing, and I know that the Giants' offense is just as bad as they are. Touchdowns went Dak's way last week. They may not go his way this week. It's going to be a game where Dallas is not going to have to keep the pedal to the metal all day. I don't think Carolina's going to put more than 10 on them anyway. So I just think there's more potential there for Hurts than there is Dak. But I think it's more of a toss-up than it would seem just comparing the names.
I'd agree with that statement. It's certainly more of a toss-up than it seems. But, when you look at Jalen Hurts, he comes to play in prime time. And it's not like that KC defense. Like, they're good, but there's good in facing a mediocre O-line like the Dolphins, and then there's good in facing the best O-line in the league and the Eagles. I think they're gonna be in a world of hurt KC come Monday night, and I got Jalen here as well. So we both taken Gouda at quarterback. We go to running back, and this one's a little bit more of a laugher, but Aaron Jones, James Cook against number one player in our hearts and minds, CMC, and Breece Hall. I can guess who you have here, but let's hear some.
We'll lean to McCaffrey and Hall.
Just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It was surprising to see the way that Denver was able to move the ball against the Buffalo defense on Monday night. And I think short week, the Jets are coming off of a pretty brutal loss to the Raiders. And they just got to feed their best players, and that's Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. So I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Hall against Buffalo. Breece looked amazing against them in week 1, if you remember that.
Yep.
So I certainly have Breece coming to play this week. James Cook is going to be fine. Aaron Jones is going to be fine, but they don't really move the needle when you compare him to the firepower of CMC and Hall. So I got Gouda for running backs as well. I assume you're taking yourself there too.
Yes. Yeah, I agree there.
Moving to receivers, and this gets a little more interesting in my mind. So you have Lamb and Addison on one side, Metcalf, Ayuk on the other. Again, I think if you have Dak going to Lamb, he's going to have a huge game. He's just so good.
Yeah.
And then you have Addison, and that, if Jefferson plays, it's a whole different ball game. But it's not like Stephon Diggs had a particularly good game on Monday.
No, well, I mean, Denver's got, Surtain out there in the corner, and he shuts down, half of the field. And I don't think he really shadows per se, but I got to imagine with that Minnesota receiving core that, I mean, there's no reason for him to play up against anybody but Addison. Even if KJ Osborne is back, he's not exactly a world beater either. I would, want to shut down Addison and focus on Hawkinson. And if Osborne or whoever else they got there beats them, I mean, so be it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So I think Addison's going to have a little bit of trouble, but I think Lamb carries that duo quite a bit. And then on your side, you have Metcalf against the Rams, great matchup. And then you have Ayuk against Tampa, who they can create some pressure, but they're not exactly great at corner.
Yeah.
So, I think Lamb is the highest scorer of the 4, but I will lean towards your 2 guys outscoring his 2 guys.
Yeah, I call it kind of a toss-up. I mean, I think there's, if I have to give an advantage, maybe on my side. But I definitely think it's a toss-up because, I mean, at minimum, I think Lamb's kind of good for 7 and 100, even if he doesn't get in the end zone, which is going to puts him at a really nice spot, just to start.
Yeah, I agree. Good call there. And then you move to tight end. It's Schultz. It's Laporta. What did I offer you for Laporta? Like, I love this kid.
I think
so I'm going Laporta.
Like a 5 or a 6, like somewhere in that. Like, I mean, listen, I didn't get crap offers from you, but he's coming into the draft. He was, obviously very highly regarded and one of the better tight end classes that we've seen in a while. And rookie tight ends usually don't do much. They'll show glimpses. Maybe the last couple of weeks of the year, they start to turn it on and all. But Laporta's been kind of gangbusters since week 1. So he was a guy that I had no reason to give up, especially with the very low draft capital I have in him. If he can emerge, not even to Kelsey or Andrews level, but even a guy that like he's going into every year, he's the number 4 tight end. That's a steal at where he's drafted.
100%. You have him as a, what is he? Is he 15? Let's just do a quick check here. 15. So he'll be a 13 next year. I mean, he's the number 6 tight end right now. But I think there's a few guys clustered at like that 90 to 98 per point group right now. And he's had a couple big games. You see Atlanta, Carolina, Vegas, and it coincides with him scoring, of course. But even when he's not scoring, he's a 5 to 8, 9 point guy. Like, if I can get that consistently from a tight end, I'm pretty happy.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
So who do you got? You taking Schultz or Laporta? Because Schultz has also been pretty decent.
Yeah,
he's turned it on lately,
especially with the way Stroud's been playing. Honestly, if Nico Collins is out again, I think I would give it a little bit to Schultz, to be honest, especially going up against Arizona. I mean, I think this should be another one where Stroud kind of has his way and throws all day. If Collins is back, that may make it a little more difficult for Schultz with the way Collins has played plus Tank Dell and even Noah Brown really coming on. But if Collins misses, that obviously helps Schultz tremendously, and I think would put Schultz a little bit at an advantage here. Even though Laporta does have a great matchup with Chicago and the Dome and all that, I would give a little lean to Schultz.
It's fair. Nico did practice in a limited capacity today, so given that, I'd expect him to go.
Yeah.
Let's see how he goes for the rest of the week. It's a ankle that's fucking him up.
I think so.
It's a calf. It's a calf.
Oh, the calf. Okay.
So soft tissue. You want to see him practice 2 days in a row. But I love Nico. Great player for me. He's also a blackout. He would be my fourth receiver. Certainly my best keeper right now. Let's move to flex, and then we'll just get to defense. Move on to the next matchup. But we got Zay Flowers tomorrow night against a banged up Cincy team against Puka. You love him, you know him. Nakua against Seattle. Here, I'd actually lean towards Zay, simply because is Stafford back or is he out still?
No, he's going to be back this week. I know he practiced today. I'm not sure if it was a full or limited practice, but I know he did.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out real quick. We'll do a quick live stat check on Matt Stafford. So the Rams do expect him to start, which is great. But I don't know if he practiced in full today. Let's see. Full practice today. Yeah, so he'll definitely be back. Yeah, I still got Zay. There's something special about this kid. He looks electric on the field with the ball in his hands, and I'm excited to see what he'll do. Unfortunately, I think he's a little bit too high to be kept. But he could certainly be a guy that is kept at because he's a 6 next year. It's too high for me, but it's fine. I think Paul got him in the Chase deal, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, who you got? You got Zay or you got Puka?
I think Puka's got a little more of an advantage here. Zay. They work Zay in very, very well. It's just a lot of what he does is shorter passes, which I find a little odd, to be honest. He is a really good player, and I thought he would be a little more of a deep threat, and they would try to get him down the field a bit, not trying to create space closer to the line of scrimmage like they have been this year. It's been a little odd there, but again, too, he is a rookie, so they may be implementing him in different ways, a little bit easier to kind of force feed him the ball as he learns some of the other nuances and all as well. But we saw with Puka that even with Cooper Kupp back, he's still getting high volume target share, and he's still making things happen. He struggled the last 2 weeks going up against Dallas, and then obviously with no Stafford in their last game 2 weeks ago. So some people have gotten down on him a little bit, but I think his potential is just a little more than what Flowers is going to be.
That's fair. That's very fair. And then let's round it out. We got the Dolphins D against Vegas and Aiden O'Connell versus the Cincinnati defense taking on Lamar and the Ravens. Are you gonna keep those guys in, or are you potentially fabbing on a defense this week?
Oh no, I'm gonna pick up a different defense. I have no intention of using Cincy in this matchup.
Yeah, that's very fair. I would not be wanting to use Cincy, especially with the way their offense is looking. Burrow is going to be in trouble tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Although I do need Cincy to win that game. I'm rooting for them to hit my division winner picks because that's $17K in the bank if the Steelers win the North.
Nice.
Yeah, I got AFC. I took Dolphins, Steelers, Jaguars, Chiefs, and then NFC. I took Eagles, Lions, Saints, and Niners.
Okay. Nice.
So we got life halfway through, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it was 20 down to win 17. So
It's a good trade off.
yeah, I mean, it's just $20. Who cares?
Yeah.
And 17 grand buys me a nice watch. Which is honestly what I'd use the money for, because I guess that's what I think of myself now. All right, so who you got? You taking yourself? You taking Paul? I got to assume we're both going in the same direction here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to edge this one out. I think I think the matchups are in my favor this week.
I would agree with that. I'm going to take you as well. You think both teams, your team, his team, makes median?
I don't know.
We'll come back. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, I think the median's going to be tough this week if the matchups kind of show as they are. I mean, we could have a very high scoring week.
We could. So let's run down the rest of the matchups. We'll just start from my matchup at the top and work our way down. So here we got me versus Shanker Cats, Fields versus Love at quarterback. I'm going to take Fields. He's my boy. He crushes Detroit, by the way. So
yeah,
I love him this week.
Yeah.
I think he's back.
The only thing with Fields, I would say, is it is a little bit of a. I mean, I would still take Fields over Love anyway, so this is not, changing it. But it is a little bit of a different Lions defense this year.
It is, but it's also the healthiest Chicago's offensive line has been since August. They got
that goes
back.
Way.
I want to say they got one more guy back, so like the whole of the offensive line is there. Running back, we got Henry Eckler versus Mixon Barkley. I do think they're going to lean on Mixon tomorrow night, considering T's out and Chase is banged up. I don't know. Is Chase playing or we don't know?
Yeah, I think he's fine. I think he's going.
Saquon is going to get volume for sure. But I love Derek this week in division. He's always strong. At Jacksonville, he's strong. And then Eckler is going to be great. He's been 20 plus the last 3 weeks. He's going to just continue that romp.
Yeah, I got no argument there. I mean, Barkley's going to get the volume, but the results haven't been there with a terrible line and just no quarterback play.
Whoa, hold on. We will not have any Tommy DeVito slander here. Okay? Tommy DeVito, Syracuse alum. Love Tommy. Wishing him the best in his likely short stint starting for the Giants. Wide receivers, we got Adams and Hill versus Samuel and Lockett. Again, I don't really think this one's close. Tyreek against Vegas is going to just be a movie. That guy's going to go off, especially coming off that loss to KC in Germany. And a bye week, right? They just had their bye week.
Yeah, they're coming off their bye.
Yeah, he's going to go off. Like, look at this guy. He's just a monster.
It's pretty incredible what he's doing after leaving Kansas City. I never in my wildest dreams would have expected this.
It's like when Brady went to Tampa, and you're like, well, it was Belichick the whole time. Like, Brady's a system quarterback. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. Like, maybe it's not the case because Mac Jones is garbage and Brady's winning the Super Bowl here. But yeah, Ty's just doing it all. He's fucking magnificent. And then Devontae, like, maybe he certainly had the target share last week, and he's been getting peppered. He just hasn't necessarily had the results. But if he can get back to this versus where he's been lately here, I think 11.6 from him is a great week for me. Like, without getting in the end zone, take that all day.
Well, it's the whole thing too. It's definitely going to be a very different game for Vegas this week. I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, he did get 13 targets last week, but they're going to have to throw it way more than they did last week because assuming Miami's going to put up 28 pretty easily here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're certainly not getting the 12 from Zach Wilson's offense.
Yeah.
And I don't really hate on Schenker's receivers. I just don't think that, like, Debo is wide receiver 2 in San Francisco, and Lockett is wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 3 in Seattle. It's just he's not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think there's the advantage on your side.
I would agree. You got Andrews, Hawkinson. I would actually still give the nod to Hawkinson over Andrews this week.
Yeah, I do too.
Even if Jefferson's back, I just think like Dobbs' safety outlet is going to be Hawkinson. He's a great athlete. He gets out in the open field. Dalton Kincaid torched the Denver defense last week, and Hawkinson's significantly better. So
yeah, I mean, and plus two, Hawkinson's putting up like Kelsey numbers at this point. I mean, he's only got
he's TE1 on the year.
Yeah, right? he's got one game with under 8 targets, and he's only got 2 games with under 6 catches. I mean, that's pretty damn remarkable.
I mean, look at this: the 2 Dobbs games, 12 targets, 15 targets. I mean, granted, 7 for 69 is not the best stat line, but it's a fine stat line. And then obviously 11 for 134 and 1 is phenomenal.
I mean, at the tight end position, I would take 7 for 69 every single week.
Every single week. That's like tight end's top 5 material every week.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then at the flex, we have Jacobs for Sutton. That's not going to be good for Sutton. And defense, Pitt for San Francisco. I like San Fran better here, but Cleveland is getting DTR instead of Watson. So
yeah,
I like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Mayfield's been playing decent, but I think San Francisco's got a little chip on their shoulder after struggling lately. So that's. I think both defenses. I mean, they're probably going to have really good games, and even for the week, these may be the top 2 defenses. If you were, picking out of any defense, these would probably be the 2 that you would target.
I would agree with that. There's certain, like, the DFS lineups are going to be chock full of San Francisco and Pittsburgh defense teams.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So here I'm taking me, clearly favored by almost 20. So yeah, I think I'm going to take this one. What do you think?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, very much lean that way.
All right, cool. So let's go back to the next matchup. Ooh, keep going to week 10 here. We got DC versus Burner. Let's just jump right in. Allen versus Jackson. I am surprised. The Jets defense has been playing really good football. Really good football. And Josh Allen has been struggling. Did he have 4 turnovers on Monday night? Yeah, 2 picks.
I think
either
3 or 4. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, 3 turnovers against a not so stout Denver defense. He struggled mightily against them week 1. Had 4 turnovers. And I think they're in better form than they were in week 1. So I'm taking Lamar here.
Yeah, I think Lamar's the better play this week.
Yeah, tough. Running back, we got Gibbs, Etienne, Connor, White. What are you thinking?
Gibbs, Etienne.
Nice. Any reasons why, or just that's who you got?
I mean, I think White's going to get shut out pretty strongly against that San Fran D, and I like the potential that Gibbs and Etienne have here. I mean, Tennessee's got a pretty strong run defense, but Etienne's been catching some passes, and Gibbs has really been coming on lately. And Connor's second game back, and he didn't get any passing work last week, which was really out of character. So I don't know if that was a Kyler thing, a Connor thing, or where it really came from. But if that's a new trend that's going to emerge, it makes Connor a lot less valuable on a Arizona offense that's not the strongest, and probably reduces his touchdown upside a bit too.
Yeah, not targeted in the passing game last week. Great rationale there. Completely agree with all points. Moving to receiver, you got the juggernaut of Diggs and Chase against Waddle, McLaurin. Diggs does get sauce, but I think if anything, like that's the guy who, and again, he really struggled last week against Surtain. I think they're going to try to find ways to get him more involved this week.
I mean, he did. I mean, Diggs did have 10 catches in week one
Yeah.
against the Jets. I mean, the one thing Sauce usually does not shadow. It's
Yeah.
usually he's on one side, Reed's on the other side, and they go with it. So I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I'm fairly certain in week one they moved Diggs around a lot to get him away from Gardner, and that gave him a little bit of an advantage. So I would imagine, they're going to try to do a lot of the same things they did week one. So I think Diggs is a little better than it may seem there as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, no offense to Waddle and McLaurin, they're good players, but I just think it's, the two A students against, two guys that are showing up ready to play football.
Yeah.
Moving to tight end, Kelsey versus Kittle. Who you got?
Kelsey.
Yeah, of course we have Kelsey. He's got that James Dean daydream look in his eyes. Sorry, I won't do that again. Flex. This is actually a fun one. I love this matchup. Amon-Ra against the Bears. Now that they have a full complement of weapons back, versus Kirk against Titans, where he has just been awesome lately. 6 for 104. He scored a couple of games. He had a relatively bad game against Pittsburgh right before the bye, but just so consistent. Really since week 2, just goes out there and gets his 10 to 17.
Kirk has been very good with Ridley struggling. He's really, he's really helped out that offense a lot.
He seems to be the security blanket. It seems like when Lawrence needs a play made, he's looking to go to Kirk. And when he has some room to maneuver, he's going to Ridley. And I mean, this guy's not human. How I gave him up for so fucking little, it really baffles me. What a fucking idiot I am.
Hold on, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, we got a dehumidifier in here, and it just clicked on.
There you go. No, you're all good, man. So I'm still going to take Amon-Ra over Kirk, but I think it's a more intriguing matchup than we may give it credit for. I mean, Amon-Ra has just been insane. He missed a week, and he is still wide receiver 7.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I mean, he's putting up great numbers in a half PPR, and he's that much better in a full PPR setting too. It's pretty remarkable what this guy is doing with Goff and all.
Yeah, I mean, look at these targets. Your low target game, 7 targets.
That's nuts.
And then Buffalo versus Baltimore. I don't know that. I guess Burner will start Baltimore because you just traded 5 rounds of value to get him. Fucking idiot. And I do like Buffalo this week against the Jets. So I'm still going to stick with Buffalo.
Yeah, I think Buffalo's the better play. I mean, defense versus Zach Wilson or defense versus Joe Burrow. I mean, I'll always take the defense against Zach Wilson.
Exactly. So overall, I'm going to take DC here. I think unless Lamar has the most ridiculous 45-point game of his life tomorrow night, which I don't think he's going to have, that's the only shot Burner really has to win.
Yeah, I would be shocked if DC loses this one.
Yeah, so we're both taking DC there. And moving forward, we have probably the toilet bowl of the week where we see Sunshine playing Brandon. A lot of empty players on both sides here. So let's try to just figure out what they're going to do. We can tell quarterback. Josh Dobbs against Justin Herbert. I would take Herbert here over Dobbs. What do you think?
Yes, I would go Herbert as well.
And then running back, let's assume, I guess it's going to be, oh, Jesus. These are not great choices. I guess maybe Elijah Mitchell. I don't know. Who would you play?
Oh my God. Somebody on the waiver wire. There's probably not even anybody on the waiver wire.
There's no one on the waiver wire. This is just bad. So this is just not good. And yeah, he's got empty spots. He's in bad shape. John, you got to do something here. On the other side, Brandon has, I guess, Fournette, Justice Hill, he's probably going to play Hill, right? He only had 2 carries. This Keith Mitchell kid is ridiculous. Maybe he plays Sanders.
I mean, Sanders is no better, but Sanders maybe has a better workload potential.
They both don't really have workload potential. And then Fournette is just he's 2 goose eggs. He hasn't even played yet.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything yet.
So I don't know. Just no one win. Najee Harris wins running back by default.
Yeah, even that. I mean, Najee just because, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, because the other guy is Josh. The only other healthy guy is Josh Kelly. And then receiver AJ and Dell versus Hollywood, and I'm going to assume DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just going to go AJ Brown here because he's AJ.
Yeah, Brown and Dell, I would definitely take.
Yeah. Tight end, we got Logan Thomas against
nobody.
So I guess Logan Thomas. Dotson versus Cooper with now DTR playing quarterback. So
yeah, I would go Dotson.
I'm going to go Dotson here as well against the Giants. Like he wasn't involved at all last week. And after 2 games of being really involved, he was still on the field a bunch. I think they're going to try to get him the ball a little bit more this week. And then defense, we have Green Bay. I can't imagine he's going to actually start Green Bay. He just traded Philly. Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. I'm just going nobody. I think both of them lose this game. I don't know who to pick.
I mean, Sunshine may win by default if Brandon doesn't take out the bye week guys.
I mean, it's possible that he doesn't. You got to hope he Brandon doesn't even have sleeper on his phone. I don't think. I think he's a desktop guy.
Oh, jeez.
That's the way it seems to me. All right, let's just move on because this is gross. And then the last matchup, we got Bobby against Chili. And this one I think is going to be ugly. It's going to be one-sided. Mahomes versus Murray. Kyler actually played well last week. Yeah, played fine.
Yeah, he did actually. He looked pretty spry. He ran around, ran a touchdown in. And yeah, I mean, Arizona Houston could be sneaky shootout with 2 kind of bad defenses, but I mean the edge to Mahomes every week, no matter what.
Yeah, and Mahomes, it doesn't matter who you put in front of him. Like the guy plays well. I guess except against Denver. I don't know what the fuck that game was, but every other game it seems like he's shining. So, I give the ad there. Running back Pollard, Warren, Williams, Walker. I said that backwards. It's Pollard and Williams versus Walker and Warren. There we go. Who are you taking here?
I don't know. It's a tough one. They're both kind of middling in a way. I mean, Walker's been really tough these last couple of weeks. He has not played great. I mean, he got bailed out by that big receiving touchdown last week. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I mean, he's really struggled these last couple of weeks. Jaylen Warren. Warren's been playing well. I'm not a Warren guy at all. I think it's kind of smoke and mirrors. But I think there's a chance too that Warren could play and the second half of the year kind of be like Tony Pollard light from last year a bit. So I mean, but going against that Cleveland defense, it's a tall task.
That's a tall order. Myles Garrett is out of this world talented.
Yeah, and then that Pollard and Javante side. I mean, Pollard has just been bad this year. It's crazy to see. He's really not giving up any work to backups. He's gotten the goal line carries inside, like all the meaningful carries he's gotten, and he's just not doing anything. So I don't know if he's better as that 10 touch a week type guy like he was last year, where he can be more explosive and really do what he does. It's strange, but it's a good matchup too. And then Javante, he's looked all right. I mean, I think it's a matter of time before he kind of turns it on a bit. His last two games, he's done well. So that's it's gonna be interesting. But I'm gonna give the edge to G Money on that one. I think just he's got the better upside with those two guys.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm just curious because they played already. Not a great game against the Rams to start. I'm definitely going Greg here. I feel like this is a big Tony Pollard week. He's been kind of knocking on the door from an efficiency standpoint. He's getting back up. He's seeing that 4.5, 4.25 yards per carry. Last week was just a weird one because they were killing them, but then they also wanted to press and run the score up. I feel like this week is let's get set up for these winter months and this division schedule that we have coming up with Washington, Philly, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, again, Washington. We need a strong running game to win these games, and we're going to set it up this week at Carolina. So I think big Tony Pollard week. I'm definitely going Greg here. Let's move to receiver. You got JSN Pickens against Wilson Allen. Again, not close for me.
Yeah, Wilson and Allen pretty easily.
Yeah, we just moved to tight end. McBride versus Kincaid. This is a fun one. I probably lead Kincaid here.
Oh, see, I would lean McBride.
Really? So McBride, he's been looking good. Yeah, I mean, 14-9 for 8 and 131 last week. He had 10 for 95 2 weeks ago in Baltimore. That was pretty solid. I just think Kincaid is, you're really seeing the snap count ramp up. You're seeing the targets ramp up, and you're seeing the production ramp up.
I mean, Kincaid's got the potential. I like what Arizona's with what McBride has done so far this year, especially last week with Kyler. And you even go back to last year and the year before that when Arizona traded for Ertz. I mean, Ertz put up some really good numbers with Kyler there. And, and I think that's going to be pretty clearly continuing based on what McBride did last week. So, but the one area the Jets are vulnerable is the tight end. So definitely the big potential is there for Kincaid if Allen's not making the mistakes this week. I mean, I still lean to McBride on it, but I mean, it's probably definitely more of a toss up, or even going Kincaid. I wouldn't say that you're wrong by any stretch either.
Yeah, for sure. And then flex, I think I was just looking through Rob's team to see if he's going to start someone other than Devin Singletary. I don't know if Pierce is back.
I don't know if there's any updates yet.
Pierce.
He didn't practice today.
He did not practice today. Yeah, so he may miss another. I mean, if he misses another week, it's absolutely Singletary. He was phenomenal last week. And as you were saying, sneaky shootout potential game there. And then against Kupp, I think Kupp gets back on track this week. I'm going to go Kupp. Yeah,
definitely Kupp, especially with Stafford playing.
Yeah. And off the bye, I just think this is his week to get there. The Rams get right game. I think the Rams come out and smack the shit out of the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, we got defenses. I can't imagine that Rob is actually going to start any defense against Miami. He'll probably be angling for somebody. And then Dallas against Carolina is a great start for Greg. So I'm going to lean Greg here.
Yeah, no matter who Rob uses, it's going to be Dallas.
Yeah. So that, I mean, the Matchup clearly dictates who should win, and I think the projections are pretty spot on here. I got Greg.
Yep, same.
All right, so then the 5 with the median. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be Blackouts, the Cooks, the Brownouts, the Goon Squad, and Team 5 are probably the 5 I would take to hit median. And I know that's what projections say too. I don't want to be like a projection bitch, but
yeah, I just think with the way everything is shaping up with buys and the trade deadline, I don't think there's any reason that those 5 wouldn't beat the median this week.
Yeah. All right. So that's let's move on to our game where we guess that quick review. The last time we did this in week 7, Rob and I both went 3-2. DC went 2-3. DC, you really suck at this. And now we get to add Gouda to the list for next week. Now that we know what he predicted. So let's go to guess that fab. So I guess Gouda, we'll start with you. Washington defense against the Giants. I think we saw at least a couple teams that definitely need to pick up a defense. You happen to be one of them. Where do we think Washington D goes?
I think they're probably going to go for about 20.
20?
I think so. I think someone's going to go for it.
20 for a non-sweat, non-Chase Young Washington defense. I'm going to go like $6.
Okay.
$20? Like Jalen Goyton, who has apparently become some semblance of a receiver in LA. 79% snap share last week, 4 for 41 with a touchdown, second most added player, first most added position player besides the Washington defense. What are you thinking here?
$3.
Yeah, I would go $4. I'm gonna Price is Right. Fuck you. All right, Detroit defense against Chicago. I'll take this one first. I don't think anyone should bid $1 on Detroit defense. Like Justin Fields owns these guys. So
yeah, I think you could see a $2 bid by somebody.
Should. All right. DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson.
That's an easy 0.
Easy 0, right? But he's up there, so he's got to make the list. And then Brandon Cooks, I also think 0. Like no.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any. I mean, someone may pick him up, but I don't think there's going to be any bidding interest in him.
No. And then the last guy is Conklin. Frankly, I think Conklin's worth a flyer if you're a tight end needy team. I would go $5 on Conklin.
Oh wow, yeah, I think maybe $2. I mean, I'd be surprised if somebody bid on him, but I can't see it going like above $2 either.
Yeah, no. And then running back wise, there's really not much in the market. I know we saw a couple of teams struggling for running back, like Royce Freeman, AJ Dillon, Jerick McKinnon, Latavius Murray, and Samari Pirine are the top 5 unowned running backs. I don't really see any of them getting a big bid.
Maybe nobody. I mean, Freeman, Dillon, and McKinnon get picked up out of desperation, but nobody's bidding on them.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. All right, well that does it. Any parting words for the fans out there?
Thanks for tuning in.
There we go. All right, later.